Okay, so I'm Andy Kohler from UCLA, the Los Angeles campus of the University of California. And like most of you, we've got our own patron loaders and record loaders and authentication services and so on. So what I'm going to talk about is actually kind of a different perspective, which is instead of how we're enhancing our Voyager system, it's how we're making our Voyager system play nicely with other systems, in this case specifically OCLC's WorldCat Local. For those who don't know, WorldCat Local is a commercial product from OCLC. It's kind of a combination of a consortial system in some ways. It's their big strategic purpose seems to be pushing discovery to the network layer. Instead of Berkeley having books and UCLA having books and everybody else having books, let's have everybody in the world, or everybody in the world that knows how to search OCLC, be able to discover those things, and then OCLC WorldCat Local redirects the user to the local system for fulfillment purposes, for delivery purposes. So the University of California, which is 10 campuses plus the California Digital Library, currently has a union catalog called Melville, which runs on the Aleph system. And the University of California decided to replace that. They looked to OCLC for the opportunity to run a pilot of WorldCat Local, and that's how I and UCLA and dozens of other people who had other things to do at their own campuses got pulled into this project. In addition to replacing Melville, and this is scheduled to happen this summer, we're considering whether the WorldCat Local system might replace eventually each campus's individual catalog. That's something that's being left to the UCs to talk about individually. UCLA is in no rush to do that because WorldCat Local doesn't do all of the things that our local catalog does, like call number searching and some other important features that we care about. So there's lots you can read about the project if you want to at those links. What we have to do with this union catalog system is make sure that current holdings and circulation information are available to the user who discovers these records in WorldCat Local. Some of the challenges that we face are that there are a lot of different systems that are contributing data to WorldCat Local, and so WorldCat has to be able to talk to all of these different systems in different ways. Early adopters, I think the University of Washington may have been the first. OCLC did screen scraping with their systems. That's fine to a point, but it's slower and it's fragile, and it's not something that they wanted to do with the disparate systems of UC. So, let's use Z39.50. It's a library standard. But you know what they say, the nice thing about standards is there's so many to choose from. So what I'm going to do is talk about two of the major challenges that we faced at UCLA. And I want to make it clear that while I'm talking about this from a Voyager context, all of the campuses faced these similar challenges with their own systems. I mean, Voyager has its own problems in this area, but none of these integrations went smoothly or perfectly, whether it was with Aleph or III or Berkeley's homegrown Gladys system, which they're migrating to III as we speak, I think. So the first major issue was search. A user goes into WorldCat Local, does a search, finds a record that she likes, and it shows her basic bibliographic information. But then it has to do a Z39.50 call into Voyager in order to get the current up-to-date holdings, especially important if you have a serial, for example, and want to see all the issues that have been received, and the current circulation information, because not only does that tell the user what he or she can do at that moment, it drives things in WorldCat Local, like whether there's a place hold button that shows up or not. So the first major problem we ran into is that Voyager, while you can do Z39.50 searches into it just fine, those tend to be keyword searches only, plus a few specifically defined searches like ISSN, ISBN, some author and title searches that are left-anchored searches. So we have an OCLC number index in Voyager, but we found that there's no way to get that to work specifically as a result of a call of a Z39.50 search. What happens is that a keyword search is done for the term, which is just a plain number. And so anywhere that number appears anywhere in the record, you get a lot of false hits. We also have mixed formats of OCLC numbers in our records because we haven't been consistent through the decades. So some of our numbers have prefixes, some of them don't. And the nice pre-existing OCLC number index that exists in Voyager, which normalizes that data, can't be used. So problems. It's a bug. It's been reported. It's been acknowledged as a bug. We don't have a timetable for a fix, though. So that was the first challenge that we had. We had to do something. So what we wound up doing was basically adding a 035 field that had a theoretically unique keyword in it that combined a unique prefix with the record number. This is accessible via a keyword search, which works fine via Z39.50. So we had to pull out most of our records, add this number to them, load them back in via bulk import. That was a nice New Year's Eve sort of project for me a couple years ago. And then we had to modify all of our custom loaders. So we do daily loads from OCLC. We do Marchive loads and things like that. So we had to modify those so that these numbers get created in parallel in those. And then write a maintenance program so that all the records that get brought in from all the different ways into our system, that they're kept up to date via a batch job. The second challenge that we faced is the lack of granularity in the circulation data that Voyager Z39.50 returns. So there's, in Z39.50, there's the basic bibliographic format that comes back, and then there's what's called the OPAC format, which includes holdings and circulation data. Problem for us is that it's much less specific than the data that's available in the Voyager OPAC. So our users are accustomed to be able to see, okay, yes, it's checked out and it's due tomorrow, that's great, but also here's something that's been declared missing, so you might want to ask the acquisitions department to replace it. Here's something that's at the bindery, so I know it'll be back in a couple of weeks. None of that information is available via Z39.50 in Voyager. The few elements that are available, which are listed here, basically can be combined just to let us give basic information to the user in WorldCat local. It's checked out or it's not checked out. It's not available for checkout. We can't tell you why, it's just not available. It's on hold, or we can't even guess, so please go and ask at the circ desk. We just can't give them the details that we want to be able to give them. So we've got this basic solution in place now. We're looking in the future at possibly creating a web service of our own which would let us return to OCLC the data that we want to have included in the WorldCat local record, in the WorldCat local display. This, of course, is dependent on OCLC supporting the ability to get data both via Z39.50 and an arbitrary web service. OCLC has these things called local holdings records, which are a way for institutions. It mainly goes to help institutions who do interlibrary lending and borrowing through OCLC. If you publish your information, your holdings information to OCLC in an LHR, it makes it easier for the ILL folks to see right away, oh, they have this issue, they don't have this issue, so I should route the request to them or not. But OCLC is expanding the ability to bring that data into WorldCat local so that it can actually be used for OPAC sorts of functionality. If we do both of these things, it might eliminate the need to use Z39.50 altogether. OCLC already has the bibliographic record, with the exception of some local special collections notes and things like that, which we would probably bring in via local holdings records anyhow.